Hey guys, what's up? Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're only going to be drafting superstars to universe mode that have between 8 and 10 letters in their name. I just wanted to try something kind of weird for once. So let's get to it and find out what happens. So the first one's going to be AJ Styles. Then we have Alexa Bliss. And next we're going to have Becky Lynch. I just realized we're going to have a very limited roster here, but I'm still not changing the rules. Alright, our next draft pick is Billie Kay. And the next two we're drafting are Bo Dallas and Bobby Fish. And next, of course, we got Bray Wyatt. And we're also going to have one half of the Bella Twins, Brie Bella. Alright, and next we have Carmella. And we also have Chad Gable. And cool, we can also draft Christian. I guess we're going to have to draft Cole Quinn. We're going to get Curtis Axel in there. We're also going to have Dakota Kai and Dana Brooke. And I guess we're also going to have Dash Wilder. Wouldn't be a party without Drew Gulak. And we're going to get Ember Moon. And we're going to draft Eric Young. Fandango, of course. Gotta have Finn Balor. And oh yeah, we get to have Goldberg. And we get to have one half of the Hardy Boys, Jeff Hardy. Now, we may not get to have Jey Uso, but we do get to have Jimmy Uso. And we also get to have John Cena. Looks like we get to have Josie Jane and Kairi Sane as well. Oh, we get to have Keith Lee too. And we also get to have Kevin Nash and Kevin Owens. We get to have Lacey Evans. Oh, I can also draft Lex Luger. We'll put Liv Morgan in the mix. Mandy Rose gets to be in there too. Ooh, Mark Henry. We also get to have the other half of the Hardy Boys, and we get Matt Riddle. Now we get to have Mojo Rawley as well, and Molly Holly. And we get to have Montez Ford as well. And we also get the other half of the Bella Twins, Nikki Bella. And we also get to have Nikki Cross and No Way Jose. And we get to have Oni Lorcan, too. I guess we're going to put Pete Dunne in there as well. Oh, gotta have Papa Shango. Oh man, that's cool. We get to have Razor Ramon. And we get to have Randy Orton. Oh, cool. We get to have Rhea Ripley, too. You know, this roster is actually getting more stacked than I thought it would. It's working out pretty good. And we get to have Ric Flair, even though it says 91 in his name. I'm still only counting the numbers of letters in his actual name, so we'll put Ric Flair 91 in there. Oh, we get to have Ricochet as well. Oh, let's put Ruby Riott in there. Oh, cool, we can have Sami Zayn too. Awesome. And we also get to have Sasha Banks. We also get Sarah Logan and Samoa Joe. It looks like we're getting Scott Hall too. So we're going to have Scott Hall and Razor Ramon in there. Oh, cool. We get to have Ted DiBiase. And we're going to recruit Tony Storm. We also might as well pick up Tony Nese and Trent Seven. And of course, we get to have The Undertaker. And we're going to recruit Tyler Bate as well. And we're going to finish things off with Zack Ryder and Zelina Vega. 66 participants is actually quite a lot. I'm going to put this thing together and we're going to have some fun. Alright, let's get this party started. We're only going to be doing pay-per-views, so let's see what happens. First match for Money in the Bank. Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch for that women's title. Bobby Fish versus Razor Ramon. Oni Lorcan versus No Way Jose. Mojo Rawley taking on Eric Young. Trent Seven and Tyler Bate challenging Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel for them tag team titles. Pete Dunne taking on Matt Riddle. Lex Luger taking on Ted DiBiase. The Bella Twins are challenging Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross for the tag titles. We got a Money in the Bank ladder match. That'll be good. We got Ricochet taking on AJ Styles for that US Championship. Kevin Owens taking on Goldberg for the Universal Championship. And we have another 8-man ladder match that means nothing. So let's see what happens. Looks like Becky Lynch retains her title. Razor Ramon beats Bobby Fish. Oni Lorcan beats No Way Jose. Eric Young beats Mojo Rawley. Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel retain those titles. Matt Riddle beats Pete Dunne. Lex Luger beats Ted DiBiase. Bliss and Cross retain the titles. And it looks like Mark Henry is our Money in the Bank winner. AJ Styles has retained the United States Championship. Goldberg retains his Universal Championship. And Bray Wyatt won that useless ladder match. Cool, that was actually a good pay-per-view. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, next we got Extreme Rules. First we got Bray Wyatt taking on Samoa Joe. Bella Twins challenging Bliss and Cross again. Sasha Banks taking on Kairi Sane. Keith Lee taking on John Cena. We got a 6-man triple threat tornado tag match. Interesting. Mark Henry taking on The Undertaker. Ricochet challenging AJ Styles for that US title again. Randy Orton challenging Goldberg for that Universal title. And Lacey Evans challenging Becky Lynch for that women's title. So let's see what happens. Looks like Samoa Joe beats Bray Wyatt. The Bella Twins won the women's tag team titles. Awesome. Kairi Sane beats Sasha Banks. Keith Lee beats John Cena. Looks like Kevin Owens and Jeff Hardy won that triple threat tornado tag match. Undertaker beat Mark Henry. Ricochet could not take that title from AJ Styles. Goldberg retains the Universal title, and Becky Lynch retains the women's title. Let's move on. All right, next up we got SummerSlam. We got Samoa Joe taking on Undertaker in the opening match. Sasha Banks taking on Kairi Sane. Mojo Rawley taking on Bobby Fish. Matt Hardy and Dakota Kai teaming up to take on Scott Hall and Josie Jane in a mixed gender tag match. Sami Zayn taking on Chad Gable. Trent Seven and Tyler Bate taking on Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel for those tag titles again. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross want those tag titles back from the Bella Twins. Mark Henry's taking on Christian.
I couldn't find Nikki Cross won those tag titles back from the Bella Twins.
Keith Lee is taking on John Cena. Randy Orton is taking on Bray Wyatt. Kevin Owens is challenging Goldberg for the Universal title. Interesting. And Finn Balor is challenging AJ Styles for the US title. And we got a triple threat match. Becky Lynch, Lacey Evans, and Ember Moon for the women's title. Let's see how this goes down. So it looks like Samoa Joe beat The Undertaker. Interesting. Kairi Sane beat Sasha Banks. Bobby Fish beat Mojo Rawley. Scott Hall and Josie Jane beat Matt Hardy and Dakota Kai. Sami Zayn beat Chad Gable. Looks like Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel retain those titles, as do the Bella Twins. Christian beat Mark Henry. John Cena beat Keith Lee. Randy Orton beat Bray Wyatt. Kevin Owens could not take the Universal title from Goldberg. AJ Styles is still the US champion. And Lacey Evans took the women's title from Becky Lynch. Awesome. Let's see what happens next. Alright, now we're at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. First off, we got Bray Wyatt taking on John Cena. Trent Seven and Tyler Bate taking on Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. Dana Brooke taking on Zelina Vega. Sasha Banks challenging Lacey Evans for that title. Bliss and Cross taking on the Bella Twins again. I'm pretty sure they're the only two tag teams, so they're probably going to be going back and forth on those tag titles a lot. Scott Hall and Liv Morgan taking on Jeff Hardy and Becky Lynch in a mixed gender tag match. Randy Orton taking on Christian. Finn Balor again challenging AJ Styles for that US title. And Samoa Joe challenging Goldberg in a Hell in a Cell match for the Universal title. Let's see what happens. So it looks like John Cena beat Bray Wyatt. Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel retain the titles once again. Zelina Vega beat Dana Brooke. Lacey Evans beat Sasha Banks, so Sasha Banks could not take that title. The Bella Twins are still the tag team champions. Scott Hall and Liv Morgan beat Jeff Hardy and Becky Lynch. Randy Orton beat Christian. Oh, and Finn Balor took the United States title. That's awesome. Interesting. Oh, and Samoa Joe took the Universal title from Goldberg. Awesome. Let's see what happens next. All right, our next pay-per-view is Super Showdown. We got John Cena taking on Bray Wyatt. Tyler Bate and Trent Seven taking on Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, who also are probably the only two tag teams there. We got Zelina Vega taking on Dana Brooke. We got a six-man tag team match with the Bella Twins and Ruby Riott taking on Bliss Cross and Josie Jane. We got Mandy Rose taking on Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks challenging Lacey Evans for that title again. We got Ricochet challenging Finn Balor for the US title. Kevin Owens challenging Samoa Joe for the Universal title. Randy Orton taking on Christian. And Scott Hall versus Kevin Nash in the main event. That would be an awesome match. Let's see what happens. John Cena beat Bray Wyatt. Axel and Dallas keep retaining those tag team titles. Zelina Vega beat Dana Brooke. It looks like Bliss's team beat the Bella Twins team. Mandy Rose lost to Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks won the women's title. Awesome. Finn Balor retains his United States Championship, and Kevin Owens is the new Universal Champion. That's awesome. I love it when the titles change this much. It's really cool. And it looks like Randy Orton beat Christian and Kevin Nash beat Scott Hall. Let's move on. All right, we are now at Survivor Series. We got Randy Orton taking on Christian. Bate and Seven taking on Axel and Dallas again. Zelina versus Dana Brooke. We got an 8-man elimination tag match. It's a Survivor Series match. Team DiBiase versus Team Wyatt, I guess. Lacey Evans challenging Sasha Banks for the women's title. Mandy Rose taking on Becky Lynch. Ricochet challenging Finn Balor again for the U.S. title. Samoa Joe wants that Universal title back. And we have another Survivor Series match. Team Bella versus Team Bella. Interesting. The Bella twins taking on each other. That'll be pretty awesome. All right, let's see what happens. It looks like Randy Orton beat Christian. Oh, and Tyler Bate and Trent Seven finally won those tag team titles. That's awesome. Good for them. Zelina Vega beat Dana Brooke. Team Wyatt beat Team DiBiase. Lacey Evans, it looks like she won that women's title. Becky Lynch beat Mandy Rose. Finn Balor retains his title against Ricochet. And Samoa Joe gets his Universal title back. Interesting. And it looks like Team Nikki Bella beat Team Brie Bella. Let's move on. Alright, and last pay-per-view of the year, TLC. We got Kevin Owens taking on Kevin Nash. Battle of the Kevins. We got Mark Henry taking on Christian. Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel want those titles back. Sami Zayn taking on Mojo Rawley. Scott Hall taking on Bobby Fish. Matt Riddle taking on Ricochet. John Cena taking on Bray Wyatt. Keith Lee challenging Ric Flair. Becky Lynch challenging Lacey Evans. She wants that women's title back. Undertaker's taking on Goldberg. AJ Styles is challenging Finn Balor for that for the United States title. He wants that title back. And Randy Orton is challenging Samoa Joe for the Universal title. That will be awesome. Let's see what happens. It's like Kevin Nash beat Kevin Owens. Christian beat Mark Henry. Trent Seven and Tyler Bate retain their titles. Mojo Rawley beat Sami Zayn. Scott Hall beat Bobby Fish. Ricochet beat Matt Riddle. John Cena beat Bray Wyatt. Ric Flair beat Keith Lee. Lacey Evans retains her women's title. The Undertaker beat Goldberg. AJ Styles could not get that United States Championship back. And Samoa Joe retains his Universal Championship. This is getting really awesome. Let's see what happens next. Alright, we got 4 pay-per-views to go. Here's the Royal Rumble. We have a fatal 4-way match for the United States Championship. Finn Balor is defending against Scott Hall, Pete Dunne, and AJ Styles. That's very interesting. We got the men's 30-man Royal Rumble kicking things off pretty much. Dallas and Axel, of course, challenging for those tag titles. They always will. Matt Riddle taking on Ricochet. Bray Wyatt taking on Kevin Nash. Bella Twins taking on Cross and Bliss in a non-title match. Keith Lee is challenging Samoa Joe for that Universal title. Ooh, that would be awesome. Becky Lynch is challenging for her women's title again. John Cena's taking on Randy Orton, and we got the women's 10-man Royal Rumble. So let's see what happens. And it looks like AJ Styles wins the United States Championship. We'll find out who wins the men's 30-man Royal Rumble here in a minute. Trent Seven and Tyler Bate retain their titles. Matt Riddle beat Ricochet. Bray Wyatt beat Kevin Nash. Bliss and Cross beat the Bella Twins. Oh, and Keith Lee is the new Universal Champion. That is so awesome. Hopefully that'll really happen one day. Lacey Evans retains her title against Becky Lynch once again. John Cena beats Randy Orton, and we'll find out what happens in that women's 10-man Royal Rumble here in a second. And it looks like Ruby Riott has won the women's Royal Rumble. Kevin Nash won the men's Royal Rumble. Awesome. That's really cool. All right, let's move on. All right, our next pay-per-view is Elimination Chamber. We got kicking things off as the Universal Championship match. Samoa Joe challenging Keith Lee. We have a 6-man Elimination Chamber for the United States Championship. Awesome. Dallas and Axel taking on Seven and Bate. The Bella Twins taking on Bliss and Cross in another non-title match for some reason. Riddle taking on Ricochet. John Cena taking on Randy Orton. And the Women's Championship is going to be defended in an Elimination Chamber match. That's awesome. Let's see who takes it. It looks like Keith Lee retains his Universal title. That's really cool. And it looks like Mojo Rawley is the new United States champion. That's interesting. Seven and Bate retain their titles. The Bella Twins lost to Bliss and Cross. Ricochet beat Matt Riddle. John Cena beat Randy Orton. And Lacey Evans continues to retain her women's title. That is very awesome. Let's keep moving on. Alright, last pay-per-view before WrestleMania, we got Fastlane. So Becky Lynch is challenging Lacey Evans for the women's title to start things off. Ricochet's challenging Mojo Rawley for the US title. Axel and Dallas, of course, challenging Bate and Seven as always. Montez Ford is taking on Pete Dunne. Kevin Owens taking on Bray Wyatt. Jeff Hardy's taking on Matt Hardy in a rivalry match. Interesting. Undertaker's taking on Christian. Ted DiBiase's taking on Lex Luger. John Cena's taking on Randy Orton. And Samoa Joe is again challenging Keith Lee for that Universal Championship. Let's see what happens. And Lacey Evans continues to retain that Women's Championship. And it looks like Mojo Rawley is still your United States Champion. Bate and Seven are still the Tag Team Champions. Montez Ford beat Pete Dunne. Kevin Owens beat Bray Wyatt. Matt Hardy beat Jeff Hardy. Undertaker beat Christian. Lex Luger beat Ted DiBiase. John Cena beat Randy Orton. And Keith Lee again retains his Universal title. So that means that the WrestleMania main event should be Rhea Ripley challenging Lacey Evans for the women's title and Kevin Nash challenging Keith Lee for the Universal title. Let's see if that holds true. Okay, so it looks like Kevin Nash is taking on Bray Wyatt in the first match of WrestleMania. Kevin Nash was supposed to take on Keith Lee for the Universal title. I don't know what happened there, but let's see what the other matches are. Montez Ford taking on Pete Dunne. Eric Young taking on Chad Gable. There's an 8-man 4-way tornado tag, but it looks like it's still loading everything. I don't know if we'll be able to see the participants. We got Jeff Hardy taking on Matt Hardy. Rhea Ripley challenging Lacey Evans. At least that one's right. Ricochet challenging Mojo Rawley for United States title. AJ Styles taking on Matt Riddle. Scott Hall taking on Sami Zayn. Ted DiBiase taking on Lex Luger. We have an 8-man battle royale with all those guys. We got John Cena taking on Kevin Owens. And Randy Orton, for some reason, is challenging Keith Lee for the Universal title. I don't know why Kevin Nash wasn't involved, but maybe something happened along the way and Randy Orton took his spot. But regardless, let's see what the results are. Looks like Kevin Nash beat Bray Wyatt. Pete Dunne beat Montez Ford. Chad Gable beat Eric Young. This 8-man 4-way tornado tag has definitely glitched out because it doesn't show the participants or who won, so there's no telling what that match was. Jeff Hardy beat Matt Hardy. Lacey Evans retained her title against Rhea Ripley. Sorry, Rhea, not this time. Mojo Rawley retains his title against Ricochet. Ricochet just can't get that title. Matt Riddle beat AJ Styles. Scott Hall beat Sami Zayn. Lex Luger beat Ted DiBiase. Looks like Goldberg won that 8-man battle royale. John Cena beat Kevin Owens, and Keith Lee retains his Universal Championship. Now, we still have that Money in the Bank briefcase, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cash it in on this Raw, and we're going to see what happens with that. So, the main event should be, Mark Henry taking on Keith Lee. Let's just simulate and see if Mark Henry can take that Universal title from Keith Lee. And he could not, so Keith Lee ends the show as the Universal Champion. Well, I hope you enjoyed this Universe mode. It's something different I wanted to try. I really thought the roster would be very limited by having only 8 to 10 lettered named superstars, but apparently it gives you quite a bit of superstars to work with. I don't know what my next gimmick will be for the next wrestling video I do, but we'll find out. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.